All right, hello everybody. Here we are, the last segment of the first day of SREcon16 in Europe. Everyone having a good time? Yes. Yeah, there've been a lot of great talks, and so we have another exciting one. This is Nina. She's come from LinkedIn, and she's going to tell us about basically moving Tier 1 ops people into SRE, Brave New World, all that great stuff. So take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are enjoying the conference so far. I've noticed since this morning there have been a lot of interesting talks, and there are a lot of interesting talks coming in the next 2 days as well. And I hope you enjoyed this one just as well. Today, I'll be speaking about the transformation of Tier 1, which is also known as Operations Center and NOC in various companies, and how to provide them a career path. So what qualifies me to talk about this topic? Why should you all even listen to me? I figure I should share something about myself first. I started my career as a Tier 1 engineer and worked for 7 years in various companies to gain more experience and seniorities, companies such as Yahoo and Microsoft. I then spent several years managing Tier 1. I've lived the life of Tier 1, and I know how difficult it is to move up from there, to have a career path. In fact, I myself experienced a lack of growth into higher tiers when I was working at Tier 1, and I wanted to make a difference if I ever have a chance. When I joined LinkedIn, I knew I had the opportunity and the support to change that. For the past 3 years, we're making it happen at LinkedIn. I'm Nina Mushiana. I'm currently managing NOC and SRE team at LinkedIn. And today, I'm here to share my experience and journey of how to transform Tier 1 and provide them a career path. In our discussion today, we'll cover following few topics. We'll talk about what is Tier 1, what value they provide to an organization, what issues, concerns, or roadblocks they're facing that is blocking their advancement, what is needed to change that status, and most important, our vision, how we approach this challenge at LinkedIn. With the show of hands, how many of you have interacted with your Tier 1? A lot of you. How many of you have evolved from your Tier 1? 1 or 2. So most of you will be able to relate to this discussion. And for those who are not familiar, Tier 1 is usually your 24/7 team. It is your first line of defense. They're the first level of troubleshooting and triaging, and when they're unable to resolve an issue, they usually end up escalating to higher tiers. In addition, they monitor the site 24/7. They do incident management. This team also does alert management. In some companies, they're also responsible for change management. But there's one thing they're often not acknowledged for, and that is correlation. This team deals with a large scope. They develop a wider understanding of all the services within a site. They become really good at correlating issues. They have seen various signals happening again and again and know when the issues are related. They can see 10 separate incidents and know that one of them is probably the cause of all of these incidents. Even tools available today in the market are not as good as that. I'll share a couple of my real-life experience to show how NOC can be really good at correlation. My first example is of a data center outage in one of my previous companies. It was a regular day in the NOC, and all of a sudden we had multiple services issues being reported at the same time. Each service owner was only aware of their own service being down. But it was a NOC engineer that made the correlation that all of these services are down in the same data center. They made some phone calls and found out that we have lost power in that data center, and the backup generator did not take over. In case you were wondering why I picked this image, the power outage was caused by a squirrel that chewed through the power cable. And I'm sorry to report you, but the squirrel didn't make it. Let's look at another example. Another day in the NOC, and we have alerts for Service A, Service B, Service C. Within minutes, Alert Console was filled with hundreds of alerts. Once again, multiple teams were that their service was down, but they were only aware of their own service being impacted. Among these several alerts, one of the NOC engineers noticed that a network device was also down. And boom, that was a root cause. A load balancer was down that brought down all the services behind it. So did this team really resolve an issue? No, they did not. But they helped point the engineers in the right direction, once again saving time and helping with faster resolution of the issue. I've shared these examples to show you how Tier 1 provides a lot of value in addition to processing alerts and runbooks. Now let's discuss what are the problems that they're facing. As you see in this image, a robot is asking a human to continue to perform the same repetitious task that they have always performed. In my opinion, that's exactly what we're asking our Tier 1. We hire intelligent individuals to monitor our site and have them work on redundant tasks. They're busy in mindlessly executing same documented processes and runbooks over and over again. Some of you will wonder why not just automate, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the discussion. This team has no time or motivation to understand the processes that they're following. And since they don't understand the process completely, if the documented runbook doesn't resolve an issue, they end up escalating. And escalations are always associated with the bad news. Have you ever received a call from the NOC telling you that your services are healthy? Never. No. The call usually comes at 2 a.m., waking you up and telling you that you have an incident, you need to wake up and now fix this incident. It's not their fault, it's the nature of their job, but they do feel the consequence of it. There tends to be a lack of acknowledgement with this group of workers. They are perceived as a team who only follows processes provided to them. Then how can they earn the respect to advance? How can you promote them? A Tier 1 engineer often feels that they're stuck in one place. This causes lack of career growth and a low morale. Some may feel they're just a number. Ultimately, we end up with a team of intelligent individuals who are either disgruntled or unmotivated due to the repetitious nature of their work and lack of acknowledgement. Like an oil in an engine, not particularly visible, but is needed to run smoothly. This also has a negative impact on our culture and engineering overall. For example, Tier 1 team does repetitive tasks, and that can hide software flaws from engineering owners that can and should fix it. It doesn't encourage ownership, and in its worst case, could actually incentivize more manual tasks versus automation. It causes dependency on Tier 1 to find flaws in the code. A team that is asked to push a button to do their job is just going to find more ways to push that button. Just like this image, a Tier 1 makes the service appear healthy by restarting services again and again, while a bigger issue is building underneath and is masked until it's too late. Then how can we change this? We realize that this team is missing a depth of knowledge and an opportunity to showcase their talent. In order to achieve this, they need time, experience, and mentorship. Time to learn new skills and improve on their existing skills. Experience to implement and execute those skills so they can innovate, so they can be part of the growth of the company that they work for, so they can get involved in interesting projects the rest of their peers are working on. And mentorship, a program where they can have someone to guide them to the next step. Once we had these answers, our question was how. Let's talk about how we approached this at LinkedIn. Our vision was simple. It was to build tools and automate known scenarios and utilize our human resources for unknown scenarios. Up-level our Tier 1 so they can better drive and resolve site-critical issues. Proactively analyze our growth metrics, and ultimately a career transformation for Tier 1. For that, we categorized our work. If it required a simple escalation, we automated that via our homegrown automation tool called Iris. If it required validation and had steps for resolution, we automated that via our auto remediation engine called Nurse. Our Tier 1 team worked very closely with the SREs to write these NERS plans and automate the runbooks. By the end of this project, we reduced our alert count in a knock zone from almost 35,000 to 5,000. Being that two of our homegrown tools, NERS and IRIS, have been the backbone of why this project has been so successful, I thought I might give you a little bit more detail about each one of them. Let's start off with NERS. NERS is a one-stop shop for all automation, information gathering, and remediation needs for LinkedIn's engineering. NERS is a platform for codifying operation workflows into plans to remediate services based off of alerts. It has the power of an SRE at LinkedIn system and infrastructure. It can trigger deployments, it can run salt commands, and is fully integrated with our existing tools like Jira for ticketing, IRIS for escalation, and auto alerts. Few of the examples how we have used NERS is for aggregating data for our 400 and 500 responses, something that our NOC used to do manually. Restart processes and subsystems to restart dead services, grabbing thread dumps and heap dumps so we can analyze the data when there's an incident. Since we launched NERS last year, 854,000 actions have been taken. 100% of our service health check alerts have been fully automated. Approximately 37,000 man-hours have been automated. And today, we are automating approximately 1,100 man-hours per week. Then there's IRIS. I'm sure most of you have heard of PagerDuty. Yeah? Is anyone here using PagerDuty or has heard of them? Few of you. It's an auto-escalation tool. Well, IRIS is our homegrown PagerDuty. This tool is integrated with our monitoring system, and based on the predefined rules, it notifies the on-call. When an alert triggers, it talks to IRIS, which then identifies the on-call for that service and engages them. On-call team can choose to notify the entire team or just the on-call. They can also choose the method, whether they want to be notified via an SMS, a page, or a phone call. Tool also allows to acknowledge an alert and trigger a NERS plan via mobile device. Some of you might wonder if I've automated the NOC and myself out of a job. But that's where we were different. LinkedIn has a culture of career transformation. In fact, one of our key values is, quote, helping people you manage build new abilities and skills, work with them to define their career goals, and support their efforts to accomplish them. Now let's talk about how we did this. We took a two-step approach. Our first step was to launch an SME program. As the team has some time available due to automation, we used that to provide a project time where team would spend few hours every day to learn about a service and improve their skills. We adopted train the trainer concept. We identified LinkedIn priorities and assigned our senior NOC engineers to those services. The goal was for them to focus on just that service, work with the engineers, and gain a depth of knowledge, and then come back and train the rest of the team. This benefited both the Tier 1 and the respective SRE teams. They received a better dedicated services, and NOC was able to uplift their technical skills. As the team improved their technical ability, they provided a higher level of support, and with that came the acknowledgement for the team and a morale boost. Now we had a team that was motivated to prove themselves. But we still needed to work on the career path. And that's where we came up with our second step, which is NOC to SRE transition. We came up with a process where a Tier 1 engineer was paired up with a mentor of the team that they're interested in. Together, mentor and the mentee sat and evaluated the skills and came up with a detailed plan to learn the required knowledge. We wanted to make sure that this program doesn't drag, so it had a fixed time frame of 3 to 6 month period with the transition project. We also wanted to ensure the Tier 1 feels fully committed. They were given a dedicated 20 to 40% of their time to spend with the team and work on their project. We also ensured that while we're uplifting the Tier 1, we're not lowering the bar of our SRE. We wanted to maintain that bar. This program had a regular check-ins where the mentor, the mentee, and the managers of both the team sat together and evaluated the progress and provided additional help if it was needed. At the end of 3 to 6 month period and upon successful completion of the project, NOC engineer transition as an SRE. This program has been very successful and adopted by various teams in the organization. Since its launch, we have had 6 transitions so far, and 3 are going through the process. 25% of the team today works as SMEs. And the rest of the team is highly motivated and engaged in improving their processes. This team today is now building their own tools. They have built a tool to automate reporting of incidents. They have created a tool to identify alert noise per team and then addresses that alert noise with the respective SREs, either via automation or to identify what was causing these alerts. This team has created a tool that tracks and reports all incidents and key metrics. We call it In-Panorama, as it provides a panoramic view of site outages over a period of time. It also provides trend analysis for MTTR, root cause trends, issue detection trend, team distribution of site outages. As I stated earlier, this team is really good with correlation, and they have used this knowledge to build a tool for correlation. It's called nVisualize. nVisualize works by putting all alerting data across all teams into one visual display for an easy and quick bird's-eye view of the entire infrastructure. This tool provides a view of infrastructure alerts and metrics in real time to decrease a detection and resolution. The tool has the knowledge of all the inter-service dependencies and their relative QPS strength in order to give a very meaningful view of impact and root cause. Visually, one would simply watch for the largest and most orange or red lines that are all converging to the same service and their downstreams. In this snapshot, you will see 3 front-end services that were all showing higher latency to a mid-tier service, which was in turn having latency to a back-end database. This was quickly detected and escalated with a clear and concise knowledge of what the impact was and where efforts should be focused to resolve. In my opinion, we have made impossible possible. A team that was unmotivated and not acknowledged is today the team that is the breeding ground of our SRE. They're actively engaged in providing key metrics and gaps in our system to our executives and help them focus on key areas of improvement. There's a monthly ops review with the Tier 1 team and our executives to discuss incident trends and gaps. One of the things that our CEO, Jeff, is known for is his analysis for key business metrics for our growth, which is our invites, our reminders, our page views. I love the fact that he not only involves Tier 1 directly, but now depends on us to identify the problem and resolve any growth-related issues. This is a huge acknowledgement that he puts this much trust into our Tier 1. All of these efforts have impacted our cultural genome. Automation is treated as a first-class citizen at LinkedIn. More SRE time is spent primitively in solving problems and less time reacting. Getting Tier 1 out of the loop of these basic tasks not only made their job better, it made our products more reliable. We incentivize better code as opposed to incentivize pushing buttons. With all of these efforts, we have accomplished 2 things. First, we have transformed our Tier 1 by up-leveling their skills and providing a career path. Another problem that all of us face in the industry today, that is scalability. As you see in this graph, our alert numbers are growing every year, and the gap between the resources are increasing. But we can't just throw bodies at a Tier 1 at the pace that we're growing and adding infrastructure. That's a problem that we need to resolve. And we have successfully done that at LinkedIn via automation, investing in up-leveling our Tier 1, and a solid transition process that has been very successful. I would like to point in this graph, these are real numbers, that with all of these efforts, our need to add bodies on a Tier 1 has drastically gone down. I'll leave you with one last thought. Totem poles are part of the culture of many indigenous people. Some may think that it's the top where it shines the most, but in reality, it is the bottom that is the most important, being that is the base that holds the whole thing up. Any organization or company is just like that. It shines or grows if the foundation is strong, and a Tier 1 is that foundation. But this is not the end. This is just the beginning. As an engineer, we're never satisfied with a single solution. There's always a better way. There's always a next step. I look forward to having those conversations with all of you guys and together come up with the next step. Thank you. We'll take some questions.
So is there an expectation that NOC engineers will become SREs, or is there, like, or is it possible for them to stay at that sort of tier 1 level without like jeopardizing their
No,
tenure?
if they like to stay, then they definitely can. But we encourage career growth. If they don't want to be an SRE, it could be any other team within LinkedIn. Because I personally believe working in the NOC that doing this repetitious task again and again will make you jaded, and everyone should learn and evolve in their career. But if they would like to stay, there's no pressure on them. They can definitely stay.
So in your experience, have you had really positive like embracement of this like process with all of your engineers?
From the managers, it was very positive and accepting. But initially, for our first SRE, there was a lot of hesitance. We had to really prove that the tier 1 engineers can do it and they can meet that bar. But once we had our first successful transition and the person became a really good SRE, then it was easily adopted by other teams.
Gotcha. So that the initial precursor was really important.
It does. And starting the SME program helped. Because once you have an SRE, they build a rapport with the team and they're able to see that this candidate is able to do a lot more than what they were doing as a tier 1 engineer.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
The site map slide, that was reasonably impressive. Can you talk more about that?
Sorry, which slide?
I think it was several back. The site map, the one with the lines drawing between the different parts, the components.
The correlation tool?
Yes, please.
Or what
you-
about that?
Well, where did all the data come from? Did you already have all the relationships documented?
Yes, so we do have a call graph that shows that has all the interdependencies of all the services. So what this engineer did was he gathered all the alerting metrics as well as those dependencies. So he mapped those, he gets the metrics of which service is impacted, and then based on the call graph where the dependencies are, it draws those lines.
What have you learned about hiring for Tier 1?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I wonder how you go about hiring new people for Tier 1. It seems that you're eager to turn them eventually into subject matter experts.
So you're right. Our description of a NOC engineer or the requirements did change a little bit based off of that. So because we're hiring people, the reason we want to make sure that people move into SREs is because, like I said earlier, you cannot stay in one role for too long and not get jaded or frustrated with that. So we just want to make sure that the path is available. But there's no pressure for them that they have to move. What we have changed is that initially we were asking for people who have more network experience, but now that we are having this career transition, we're asking people to have more application level experience or have some coding experience as well. So that has changed in the description, in the job description.
Thanks.
So two years ago at the SREcon, I saw a presentation, cannot really remember right now, that was that said that in order to have SRE, I mean as a mindset, you need to not have NOC. I mean, SREs should exclude NOC. I mean, in 2014, you should not rely on the NOC for microservices. And we're now in 2016 and still talk about NOC. Do you see that the NOC job being around for a few more years, maybe?
We have actually had a lot of discussions about this, and there are some people who believe that we can completely eliminate the need of the NOC. But after having this discussion, we felt that we do need a team that is 24/7 that deals with our incident management. And the reason for that is because we feel like if there is a team that can solve these incidents then we don't have to involve SREs so much on resolving those. And SREs can then work with the engineering to make the products better. So we do feel that there is a need for a team that stays and that has this wider knowledge of all the services.
But isn't that the whole purpose? I mean, the level of the issues that NOC can solve, can't they be automated to be solved by themselves, by the SREs? Self-healing?
So is the question that can the NOC solve the issues that SREs can?
No, can the SREs automate the work of the NOC totally?
I don't think we can totally. So like I said, we can use the automation for anything that we can write, anything that's a known scenario for us. But there's some unknown scenarios where we really can't automate, because if we don't know something's going to happen, we really can't automate that, right? So for those scenarios, we do need the NOC. And also, in addition, with, when we have dependency on our monitoring tools as well as automation, there's a time that it takes, right? For example, the amount of time it takes in collecting those metrics and then having them processed for the alert to trigger, and then for the alert to trigger the automation plan can take up to 7 to 8 minutes. For a NOC engineer, if they're present there and there's any critical alert, they can act much faster to that. So we compared a lot of scenarios, but we were not fully sold that we can completely automate, and we felt like there's a need of a team to be there. Maybe not in the scale that we have today, but on a smaller scale.
Okay, I can agree with that, but in our experience, we saw that a team of maybe 10 people cannot answer to problems for 10 teams in less than 6 minutes, ever. That's just our experience. Usually it takes humans much, much longer than it would take an automated system to detect an issue.
It will take humans longer to resolve an issue than automation can. But
Even
sometimes
detected.
automation, what was that?
Even detected, I think it takes humans more time.
Right, but sometimes even to trigger that automation, we might not be even prepared for all the scenarios. For automate. If we can, then that's good. I know there are some companies who don't have the NOC and they are able to function. But when we discussed our workflow, how we had at LinkedIn, we felt like there was a need to keep it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
What is your expectation in terms of time for the transition? I heard you said about the projects of 6 months.
So the transition project process is for 3 to 6 months. That is after we have analyzed and there's a detailed plan. And during that transition, they work with the teams and they work on the transition project. But if at the let's say even if at 6 months we feel like the candidate is not ready, then we can give them another 3 months. Or sometimes within 3 months they feel like, okay, this candidate is ready, the transition project is done, then they can transition faster.
And 2 more questions. What is how do you know he is ready? Well, it sounds like a very small period of time for someone to go from NOC to SRE, like 3 to 6 months in one project. Because they probably don't have exactly the same background, right? So to get what is needed, it just sounds like
So during this 3 to 6 month period, they are given a lot of time to work with the engineers, like with the mentor who will actually spend time with them to teach them about that service. In addition, the project is assigned in such a way that it is focused on that service and they learn more about it. But like I said, if they need more time, they're given that time. And it's possible they might join the team as a junior or associate SRE and then eventually transition.
Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the conference.